right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another YouTube Live. Today is July 31st, 2024 for me anyway, and then in the 30th in the US. So thank you, everyone, for joining. I'm going live on YouTube and X and trying to get it up on Instagram as well. So we'll see how that goes. Also, but thank you, everyone, for coming on. I have about an hour and a half today, and I'll try to get to all the questions that we possibly can. We already have some super chats have come in, so thank you, everyone, for doing that as well. I'll try to get to questions from Instagram and X also, but we have to sort of prioritize the super chats on YouTube as well for obvious reasons. So starting out with that, there's a question from Ellie. Thank you for the super chat, Ellie. Carnivore versus beef, butter, bacon, eggs versus lion, which is best? Thank you. Well, I mean, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs is carnivore. It's just being very specific. Say, eat these things, and I think that's a very good way of doing it. It sort of makes things a bit more simple and straightforward. Like, well, what do I eat? Eat beef, butter, bacon, and eggs. That's sort of what you eat. And so it's that's I think why Ken Berry phrased it like that, framed it like he's very good at framing things like that, or calling things a proper human diet, things like that. It's it just tells you exactly what you're doing here and why you're doing it. So lion diet of just ruminant meat and water, especially if it's grass-fed and finished, is always going to be the best. You're going to have the least amount of unnecessary plant toxins to get through. It's going to have the most nutrients. It's going to have the most phytonutrients. People say, "Oh, you have to have these phytonutrients in the plants." Well, grass-fed beef has more phytonutrients than the plants do because they concentrate all the phytonutrients and they filter out all the harmful phytotoxins that also come with those phytonutrients. And so, lion is always going to be the best. But most people will do just fine eating just any meat that they like and enjoy and can afford, and that's really important. Is that if you're on a budget, you can still just do ground beef is really cheap, and brisket is probably the cheapest cut on the cow. It's also the fattiest and one of the most flavorful. So there are ways that you can do this. Even lion diet, very cheap, and it's a lot cheaper than eating all the produce because even steak is less expensive per pound than spinach. And spinach just rots and goes bad, and it doesn't have all the nutrients you need. It has a whole bunch of things you don't want. So, it can still be done affordably. But the lion diet is definitely what most people do the best with, because it's the ruminant animals that have the ability to ferment the plant material first before they absorb it. And then they break down more of the toxins, release more of the nutrients. They get more nutrients out of it. They get less toxins out of it, and they're just a more nutritious animal for us to eat. So that's why. And then Duca, thank you very much for the very generous super chat. It's very kind of you. They say, I'm 150 pounds, 1 year lion diet, 150 grams of protein, 150 grams of fat per day, electrolytes regularly. Depression, 100% gone. Fantastic. That's great. But barely have energy to walk up the stairs. Not as great. Eating results in narcoleptic looking crash naps, brain fog, less severe on carnivore, but still bad. Well, if there's specific meats that are making you feel a bit off, then, obviously avoid those. Try to eat the meats that make you feel as good as you can. It's not common to see people have, narcoleptic crashes after they eat, but a lot of people get very lethargic after they eat. I get lethargic after I eat, typically, unless it's like grass-fed and finished beef that's like, that's like actually grass-fed and finished. Then I just get supercharged. Especially like that older cow that I ate. It was like 10 years just on grass, never ate anything else in its life. And it tasted amazing, but also I just felt like, I was just eating pure energy, and I was charged after that. So there could be something in the meat that you're eating. Maybe it's you start going after grass finished as opposed to grain finished, and maybe that can help you. Or just whatever meats don't make you feel like that, try to focus on those. and then try to eat, fast throughout the day, and then eat your big meal at night, and it crashes you down, and then you just go to sleep for the night, and try to do it in that way. That's what I typically do. I always feel better when I'm fat, not eating during the day, and then eat like a big meal at night after I work out and get home from work. Then I just naturally am lethargic and tired and want to go to bed, and it's good because it's bedtime and I should go to bed. And so that has been better for me logistically. I would wonder if you are having the same experience if you just eat a smaller meal in the day. And, if you ate like a small amount, would that still make you really tired and lethargic? If not, then try just doing that. Just try eating a small amount, for breakfast or lunch or whenever you're hungry, and then eating your big meal at the end of the day when you get lethargic and you just pass out and go to sleep. So yeah, that is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what it sort of sounds like, that you are getting sort of worse after you eat. So maybe just try eating later in the day. Try maybe eating a smaller meal. See if that affects your energy. And then I wonder if is that energy all the time that you're experiencing low energy and not having much fun going up and down the stairs either. Check your bloods. It could be that you're having a malabsorption issue. You're not absorbing some things. Check your B12 and folate, vitamin D. Check your thyroid. Check your zinc, magnesium, selenium, these sorts of things. For those ones, you really want to try to get your erythrocyte levels. You want to check what's inside the red blood cells. So you can do like RBC, red blood cell, folate, zinc, magnesium, and selenium. Getting the serum levels isn't really accurate or helpful. So, probably don't waste your time getting those. And you have to find a lab that actually does those, because not all labs do those specific tests. And and then just make sure that your blood work is doing well. And then, like you're saying, okay, so lion diet isn't as good as just general carnivore. So what that sounds to me is that there are certain meats that aren't affecting you to such a degree. Okay, focus on those. If you do better on, pork and chicken and fish or whatever and eggs than you do on beef and lamb, fine. Just listen to your body. Most people do better on lion, but if you're doing better on something else, and do that. It is a bit strange that you're still having low energy. If you're having low energy when you're fasted, that's a bit strange, and I would wonder if there's anything going on, like you're not absorbing something or something else in your environment, or if there's actually something else in your environment. There are people that get exposed to mold exposures and things like that have very similar symptoms. They feel pretty rotten all the time. They have no energy. That's something that you should look into. You check your blood sugar, check your fingerprint blood sugar, and check your fingerprint prick ketones. I would bet you that they're all in good levels. So, it's and if they're not, then you have to sort of figure out why they're not. Maybe increase the fat or something like that. But I would be surprised if they weren't in good levels. And so you will have energy available. So why isn't your body using it? Why don't you feel like you have a lot of energy? So that's the question to answer. So yeah, that's a place to start anyway, and start looking at what might be going on, and then just changing things logistically so that you can function and have a good energy throughout the day. And that's one of them. If you're having a big narcoleptic crash after you eat, then try not to eat until the end of the day when it's time for bed. That's one solution. And and if you're just tired all the time anyway, even when you're fasting, I think it's time to check your bloods and see what's going on, and see if you have an absorption issue, because there are people that aren't able to absorb the nutrients that are readily available in meat. And that's not a problem with the meat. That's a problem with their body not being able to absorb these things. But it's very important to know So do check that out. Another question from Ellie. Thank you, Ellie. Do you eat super slowly so that you know you're full? Uh, not particularly. I mean, I sit down and try to have a sit down meal and conversation and things like that when I'm able to, and I'm not sort of in a rush. It's just better for peace of mind anyway. Um, but I don't voraciously scarf down my meals, and I don't deliberately slow down my meals. I just sort of, and I just sort of keep working at it until I get to a point where I'm just like, yeah, I'm not, and you just sort of naturally start slowing down because it's not as enjoyable, and it's like a couple minutes in between bites. You sort of get to the point like, why am I doing this? You just sort of slow down naturally and stop. And when I'm like, yeah, no, I could still keep eating. Place called Wally Time Chamber last week, which was awesome, by the way. Meals, and I just order more. A couple more steaks and 4 more eggs and all that sort of stuff. They had great eggs, just really dark yellow, orangey, dark yellow eggs that they're all pasture raised, and just chickens out there in the jungle just eating whatever they eat. And so great eggs. I sort of know my hunger signals. I sort of know how much my body wants, and so I can sort of eyeball it a bit better. But I think it is still good to get to a point where you have a bit of leftovers and you just sort of like want to stop. You're like, oh, I'm not really enjoying this. I just sort of want to stop. And it's good if it's pretty lean, you're going to get over it pretty quickly. And so it's important to make sure you're getting enough fat with the meat. But if you're doing that and we're at a normal pace for you, and it'll start slowing down. Your body will just start telling you like, it's not that interesting. You sort of know. You slow down yourself. There's a sort of an odd question from a population of 1. Hypothetical challenge: you must choose 5 vegetables to add. What vegetables would you choose? Why and how would you prepare them? Well, first of all, I wouldn't unless I was starving to death and I had to. So in this hypothetical situation, if I was lost out in the woods and I was just, a bad hunter, hold on. I was going to say something about the sound being weird. Let me just see if I can fix this real quick. It's saying that my mic's set up, so I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. It could be something to do with the internet. It's saying that my mic is picking up, and it's not showing anything that I can fix on this end. But maybe there's a connection issue. Sorry about that. Hopefully, it's maybe I'll try to get a little closer to the mic as well and see if that helps. Also, so back to this question: if if I was on vegetables, I wouldn't. I would just not just do it. If I was starving to death and I just turned out to be a really bad hunter and could not get meat or something like that, then then what I would do is I'd basically go through and eat the different things that were available to me there on whatever deserted island or area that I was on or some sort of dystopian futuristic hellscape that I landed myself in. And I try to go through the things that, Professor Bill Schindler talks about in his book, actually, funny enough, eat like a human. So that's actually, this is his shirt and his book by the same name. And so he, he goes through all the different plants that people use and how they prepared them to lower the toxic load, fermenting them, putting them through different, chemical baths and processes to sort of lower the toxic load and increase bioavailability of the nutrients. And that's what I would do. I don't know which ones I would use because I've never done that little thought experiment because it has never really occurred to me to worry about it. But it also would depend on where I was, because the fact of the matter is I would never in my life eat vegetables if it wasn't something that I expressly had to do to survive. And so when you're in survival mode, it's not that you have like a whole grocery store of vegetables to choose from. You just like, you have something in front of you and you either eat it or you die. You might die from eating it, but sort of a kill or cure situation there. And so I know it's not where you wanted to hear, but I would do things in a way that was more traditional, like fermenting things, try to ferment things and lower the toxic load, and ferment them, cook the living hell out of them, do all these other sorts of things to try to lower the toxic load and bring out more nutrients and things like that. So that's what I would try to do. There's little Ellie Melly. Thank you very much, Ellie Melly, for the super chat and saying hi. Hi, nice to see you. Nice to see you too. Can you please explain to people that they're going to feel like crap starting carnivore because of sugar withdrawals, and explain withdrawal symptoms so they understand? Thank you. Yeah, well, some people do feel pretty rotten, and some people talk about this as like, the keto flu and how they sort of feel a bit unwell. A lot of times that can be withdrawals, or if it's keto that they're doing, oftentimes they're told to eat just a ton of vegetables, and that you're just going to increase the amount of plant toxins that are going in your body, and you're not used to it. That's going to make you feel a bit rotten as well, until your body builds up some more defenses towards that. But a big part of that is going to be withdrawals, and like sugar withdrawals. People find that getting off of sugar and nicotine and caffeine, some of the hardest things that they come off of. I was speaking to a guy recently, and he was saying that he had different drug addictions and serious addiction issues, and he'd been sober for a number of years, and he said that just getting off nicotine was one of the hardest things he'd ever had to do. I mean, getting off like heroin and other sorts of things were easier than getting off nicotine, which is very surprising. But maybe you just don't think of it as such a big deal, as like you need to get off this because your life is at stake, and so you don't have as much of an impetus to get you off of it. But either way, they're saying it was very difficult, very, very difficult. And same thing with sugar. I have a lot of people say that sugar is very difficult for them to get off of. And you go through withdrawals and you feel like garbage. So you can feel a bit, fluish and tired and achy and weird, almost like you're coming off a drug, because it's a drug and you are withdrawing from it. So a lot of times you'll get cravings as well, and you'll just feel a bit off, a bit weird, not as good, maybe, like you actually feel a bit unwell, and you get like really bad cravings, and you're just like, everything's, I want that sweet, I want that this or that other. But it does go away, like any drug and any withdrawal, you get through it. It's not like alcohol or benzos that you can have seizures and die. You'll just feel a bit crummy, and you'll have withdrawals, and your body will say, hey, give me this drug. And hey, little boy. Oh, little boy. Sorry, caught a cat. Good boy. Good boy. And but it does go away. And so if you eat enough fatty meat, like if you get the cravings, then just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good, and that will at least dampen down those hunger signals and those cravings. And so it goes away usually about in a week or two. And so the first week is usually the worst. Sorry. Sorry, buddy. I'll bring you up here so people can still hear me talk. And so, it's usually the first, week that things are the worst, usually the first days, obviously. So as the days go on, it's going to get less and less. As long as you're eating enough, the cravings should get better and better. And then as you go, after about 2 weeks, like the actual, chemical addiction cravings should be pretty much gone. And after that, if you get cravings, it's almost always because you're just not eating enough. And so just make sure you're eating enough fatty meat, and they typically go away. But yeah, that's a very good question that that people often wonder about. Is that why do I feel like crap when I'm starting carnivore? A lot of the times it's from withdrawals, and it can also be from low electrolytes. When your blood sugar's coming down and normalizing, your insulin's coming down and normalizing, that can change how your body keeps and holds on to electrolytes, especially early on. Eventually your insulin will sort of get down to a more normal level, and your kidneys will balance out, because the insulin affects how much electrolytes are being sort of held on to, but that's counterbalanced with other processes in your microtubules in your kidneys to actually excrete them. And and so you're not born with insulin resistance and massively elevated insulin, right? That takes years and decades, and people's insulin are just creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. And then you go from having a fasting insulin of 5 to then having a fasting insulin of 72. That was the highest I've ever seen in a patient. And as a result, your body's going to be trying to overcompensate and excrete more electrolytes than it normally would, because you're having such a strong signal from the insulin to pull these things back in. But that had to compensate in one direction. Otherwise, you just would hold on to way too many of your electrolytes and you die, because too much is going to kill you, just like too little will as well. And so it was able to adjust in that direction. So why wouldn't it adjust back in the other way? Of course it will and can, unless you break something along the way. But most people will be able to readjust. And so while that's readjusting, though, you could be losing too many electrolytes. That could make you spill out more water than you want to. You can get dehydrated. Your blood pressure can drop, and you can feel pretty rotten as well. And that's another thing that people say. They feel lightheaded and dizzy and sick and all these other sorts of things. And that could be because of the low electrolytes and low or the drop in your blood pressure as well. So there's some things to expect, or to not necessarily expect, because not everybody goes through these things, but something to be aware of when you're starting, and understand that they go away. If you need to add in a bit of electrolytes, do it, and drink some more water as well. If you're getting dizzy when you stand up, you need more water, you need more electrolytes. And if you're getting these crazy cravings and feeling fluish, you need to eat more fatty meat, and that can help dampen down those cravings and get you through it. And then after, again, about a week or two, they typically go away. I mean, even like the electrolyte keto flu people, they notice that just goes away in a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks. And so what does that mean? That means the body's compensating and it's readjusting for those electrolytes typically. But, some people do benefit from adding in more salt and electrolytes. And so just, if that's you, just be aware of that, and add some in if you need it. Rajmandir Sidhu, thank you very much, sir, for your. Actually, I don't know if that's male or female name. I'm very sorry, but thank you very much for the super chat in general. In any case, so as a soccer player, how should I plan my meals around evening training, 7 to 9 p.m. so it's easy to sleep at night? Should I eat after training on a line diet? Yeah, I would definitely train on a empty stomach. If you need to eat before that, if you're not able to do just one meal a day, especially if you're training a lot, you probably won't be able to. I would eat at least 5 hours before, and I would eat sort of like a half meal, and not just get absolutely stuffed, because you're just going to be more lethargic during the day. And then after your training, just eat a big meal. For me, when I was playing rugby and similar schedule, I would train from 3:30 to 9 o'clock at night for rugby, going to university training and then to the, the men's training afterwards. It was, I wouldn't eat during the day at all. And I would just eat afterwards, after 9 p.m. So I'd be eating at like, 10 o'clock, I'd go home, shower, change, and then I would eat after that. And I'd just have a big meal after that. And so, I would just eat a whole bunch of meat until it stopped tasting good. And if you're going to eat before that, you need to give a good 5 hours before that, and maybe don't completely fill up, just have sort of, just take the edge off, and then wait until afterwards to eat a whole bunch. That's the best idea. And a lot of fat, remember, a lot of fat. Lacey Lofton, thank you very much for the super chat. Can you talk on the way to increase metabolism? I had probably over fasted before carnivore, but when I went carnivore, I gained weight back. How do I increase it? Also correcting hypothyroidism. So the hypothyroidism, well, it depends on what's causing the hypothyroidism. If it's Hashimoto's, then you just need to be strict lion diet and a lot of fat. And you'll just track your antibodies and they'll come right down, but they take a long time. So they can take upwards of a year, depending on how high your antibodies are, for those things to come down to a more normal level, or to a normal level being undetectable. So, your metabolism, when you starve yourself, when you just fast or you're not eating enough, your body doesn't know that you're just trying to lose weight. Your body thinks that you're in a famine and you don't have access to food. And so it says, okay, less is coming in, less is going to go out, and your metabolism slows down. And there's a number of different ways your body can do that. One of them is by slowing down your thyroid and raising your reverse T3 and dampening down the effects of your thyroid hormone as well. And so what you want to do is you want to encourage your metabolism. And so you want to eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. It's the same technique for everybody in every situation, every time. You just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. You do that at least once a day. And if you're working out and exercising, you may need to do that, more than once a day. So what that does is it tells your body that you're not in a famine. There's no shortage of food. There's plenty here. When you get your hours cut at work and you're in, desperate times, the last thing you need to do is start spending, blowing out your savings account and maxing out the credit cards. That's a bad time to go on shopping sprees. So being fiscally responsible, which is what your body is, less is coming in. You just have to cut all your expenses and costs, and you just have to stop putting it out. And you do that for a while, and you're just like, yeah, that was miserable. I hated that. I never want to go through that again. And you're used to living under your means now, and you're used to living at a lower level, and you're not really wasting money. And then you get your hours back, you get a promotion, and you start getting more money in, but you're like, hey, I don't need to just start, buy a Lamborghini and just, max out and then go into more debt. I don't want to go through that again. I want to put money in the bank. I want to save. I can still live under these lower expenditures, and that's fine. I'm used to that now, and I'm going to put money in the bank. So in your body, that's fat. Your fat is the bank, and so your body is just saying, "Yep, we're just going to save. We're going to save because that sucked and that was awful, and we don't want to go through that again. And if there's a downturn, we don't want to be screwed." So that's what your body's doing, and so you need to show your body that it's that times are good, and that you're not going to that you're not in a famine, and your body can just actually release and say, okay, well, maybe we can buy that lawn furniture. Okay, well, maybe now we can buy that new car. Like, okay, I guess things are okay. We can buy that new house. It's you just have to coax your system and your metabolism into being healthy again. And just so that you do that by eating. And that's why people yo-yo diet, because their metabolism goes down because they're starving themselves, and they start eating anything else and then just slams back up. And so you want to do the opposite. You want to encourage your metabolism. So you eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. You're not eating anything. You're just eating actual food, actual meat and fat. And you might put on a bit of weight at first. But when your metabolism catches up and says, okay, we're happy now, that will go away. And you can watch people like Kelly Hogan. She has a YouTube channel and groups and things like that. And she gained weight for the first 6 months that she went carnivore, but all of her health issues were healing dramatically. And so she was like, okay, I trust the process. And everybody was telling her, hey, look, just stick with it. Your body just needs to heal, and eventually you will start losing weight. But you have to let your body heal. And what they're talking about there is your hormones and your metabolism. And that and you can track some of these to a certain extent. But things like leptin is a really good marker. If that's elevated, then it's going to be difficult for you to lose weight until that comes down. But that will come down. You're in ketogenic carnivore diet, leptin will come down because high insulin blocks leptin, fructose blocks leptin, alcohol blocks leptin, and you get leptin resistance. And so, you cut all those things out and your leptin will start coming down, 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 down. And eventually you'll get to a point where your body just says, okay, this is fine. And you'll just start losing weight. And that can take a couple months. That can take 6 months. It can take a year or more. It's usually not more than 6 months, but everyone's coming from a different place. So just keep eating fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Focus on your health first and foremost, and how you're feeling, and then body composition next, and then weight pretty much never, because weight doesn't tell you anything about your health or your body composition. And so, just focus on health. The weight and the body composition will come with time, but it can take longer for some people than others. But good luck with it. Just stick with it, and you'll do fine. And watch Kelly Hogan. Watch my interview with Kelly Hogan. Watch her videos. She does videos on stubborn weight loss and things like that on a carnivore diet, and there's plenty of those out there as well. Some people just lose weight more slowly, which is frustrating when you're seeing 95% of people go on a carnivore diet just shedding weight like crazy. Some people don't, and you just have to wait for your metabolism to recover, and that just comes from eating enough and eating the right stuff. So good luck with that. Nav, thank you very much for the very generous super chat. That's very kind of you. Hi, Doc. I vaguely remember you mentioned something about eating steak and not ground beef because ground beef can be problematic for a reason. What was that reason? I'm eating only steak the past few days. Helps with loose stools. No, I'm happy with ground beef. Ground beef's great. I guess some people they say they have some sort of reaction, whether be it histamines or something else. I'm not 100% convinced that that's a thing, but it's something people seem to be reacting to, and so who cares? If you're reacting to ground beef, don't eat it, and or leftovers or whatever, it doesn't matter, just don't eat it. But ground beef is great, so you want to get the fattier ground beef, and but it's the same stuff, it's the same cow, it's just ground up because they're from tougher parts of the cow that you really can't sort of make into a roast or a steak, and so you need to just sort of grind it up so it is able to ingest more easily. But no, there shouldn't be anything wrong with ground beef. Ground beef's great. So yeah, sometimes if you have ground beef, more of the fat can render out, especially if you're cooking it more well done, and then you sort of lose a lot of the fat, which isn't great. And then you can pour that rendered fat back on it, but then some people have problems, absorbing that, and maybe that can go through them too quickly. But and so that can cause a bit of loose stools. So people might have a problem with that. But other than that, I mean, there's really nothing inherently wrong with ground beef. It's just how your body handles it and digests, and how you cook it. And if you're just cooking all the fat out, that's a problem in and of itself. But no, in general, ground beef is great. So yeah, there's no problem with ground beef. Carnivore Clarity, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, Dr. C. Does a rise in blood glucose after drinking milk have the same negative effects as honey, fruit, and other carbs? Thank you. Well, the rise in blood sugar, if it's the same rise in blood sugar and insulin, is the same rise in blood sugar and insulin. So that's going to be a problem in and of itself. Milk is going to have a lot of really good things in it with those carbs as well. So you're getting positive benefits from those nutrients and the fats. Honey has a lot more sugar. It has fructose specifically. Fruit has fructose specifically. Fructose is a worse carbohydrate than glucose and galactose, which is what is in lactose, that makes up lactose. And so the fructose part of it, I would say, yes, is worse. Fruit can come with a bit of vitamin C, and that can offset some of the fructose. Honey comes with other things that are, of some benefit as well. But again, a lot of fructose and glucose. They're going to have a lot more sugar. The fruits and honey typically, especially honey. Honey is sugar with a bit of nutrients added to it. And then other carbs. Other carbs are just going to come with other anti-nutrients. They're going to come with other plant toxins, and along with those carbohydrates. But if you're having enough to have the exact same blood sugar rise, the exact same insulin rise, well, that part of it's the same. It's just what else comes with it. Everything else that comes in milk is pretty good for you. Some of the casein can be a bit inflammatory. People have some issues with some of those other factors in there. The casomorphines can make you sort of eat more than maybe you want to, because it causes a bit of compulsive eating. And other than that, it's just really good beneficial stuff. Especially raw milk is really, really good for you. And honey has more fructose, so that's a problem. Same with fruit, and then the other carbs, rice and potatoes and things like that, grains and nightshades and things like that. They're just going to have other oxalates and toxins and solanines and lectins and things like that you don't want as well. So if it's the same glucose rise, it's the same glucose rise. Same insulin rise, it's the same insulin rise. And then it's just a matter of what else comes with it to make that better or worse overall. Alex Sarin, thank you for the super chat. Been carnivore 2 months. Doctor took me off testosterone because of high red blood cells. My test is 174 and getting hot flashes. Fatigue, and should I get a new primary care physician? Yeah, that's a bit funny. Well, I'd wonder when they took you off. I mean, you really shouldn't just go straight off of it. You should have a weaning dose so your body can sort of get used to starting to produce this stuff again. When I have patients on carnivore, after 3 to 6 months, they're even earlier than that, but certainly 3 to 6 months, they can significantly improve their testosterone levels just on their own without going on any sort of testosterone. And so, it could very well be that your body can make a recovery. If you're very low and you're symptomatic, that's probably a bit inappropriate to take you off that quickly. It should have had sort of a weaning dose. It also depends on why you're on testosterone. Was there some sort of injury to your testicles that you're really not able to produce testosterone properly? Or was this just that you're having sort of lower levels associated with aging and wanted to sort of get up to more youthful levels? If it's the latter, then your body will probably recover. And I've seen people come off of testosterone and actually get higher levels of testosterone subsequently, like 6 months or so afterwards. They come back in, their testosterone levels are higher than they were on the testosterone, which is pretty amazing. But if you've had an actual injury and hurt yourself, then and your testicles aren't really capable of meeting that demand, then they may not be able to come back online. High red blood cells, how high? And if your testosterone levels are in the normal range, then it's probably not that causing the high red blood cells. So, you can always get a different blood test and check and see, like, okay, well, what are my red cells doing? Well, they're still up, even though my testosterone is down. So that's probably not it. It could be that you went carnivore and your B12 and folate and all these other sorts of things and iron started improving, and so your body just started making more blood cells, and that's normal for you. Or it could be something else going on, but it's not necessarily just testosterone, especially if you're in normal ranges and you weren't too high. I mean, what you do there is you just lower the dose. If it's too high, you don't just completely take somebody off of it and have their testosterone levels bottom out, especially in that shock to the system where you just stop it altogether and you smash to the ground. So I would, maybe get a second opinion, or maybe go back to them and just say, hey, I feel like garbage, and this isn't really helping, and my testosterone level is way too low now. What can we do? It's fair enough to go back to the same person and just say, hey, there's a problem. If your doctor does something and says, hey, this is what I think we're going to try, and you don't go back to them and say, hey, there's a problem, then they assume there is no problem, because they assume they're going to hear from you, because it's just like, hey, we're going to do this and let's see how it goes. And you didn't come back and say, hey, there's a problem, so they don't think there's a problem. They're not going to follow up with you. They're not going to chase up and say, hey, what happened? How do you feel? They should, but that's usually what return appointments are. It's like, okay, let's do this and I'll see you again in a month and see how you're doing. That's usually a good way to do it. But, you need to go back and tell them that there's a problem. And, and then just say, hey, look, it's maybe go on a more graduated reduction, because like this has gone sort of too far the other way. I think in time, unless you've had an actual injury that will stop you from being able to make testosterone properly, you will probably start making normal amounts of testosterone again. And that's what most people do. But it could be that your body's not able to do that, in which case you might need to take something long term. And so, I think that's maybe a bit overkill, taking off completely just because that, red blood cells went up a bit, especially if your testosterone levels were normal, right? If you're too high, sure, bring it down. But, testosterone level of 174 is not normal. That's quite low, actually. So, I would go back and talk to them. And if they're not really very approachable and not really wanting to hear it, then, get a second opinion. It's, definitely your right to do that. It's your body, it's your life, it's your health. And if someone's not really helping you, then you're allowed to go to someone else and ask their opinion as well. That's fair. Steve Larch, thank you for the super chat. 225 days carnivore OMAD. Very good. Body composition changed dramatically. Awesome. Only lost 6 pounds, some belly fat. Should I decrease the amount of meat until my goal? And no, I wouldn't really, because that's going to go back to what we were talking about before, whereas like if you reduce the amount you're bringing in, like you'll lose weight, but you'll also slow down your metabolism, especially if you do it too quickly. When people are going for like body composition competitions, right? So they're doing like bodybuilding and trying to get down to like 3-4% body fat. They even when they're doing carnivore sort of things, they'll sort of slowly reduce a bit, but they do it very, very slowly. And because if you do it more quickly, then you're actually going to trash your metabolism. And as soon as you start eating more again, you're going to put on more fat, right? So, what I think is the best way to do it is just, again, just do the same thing now as you're going to do in 20 years. Eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Eat once a day if that's all you need. Eat twice a day if you need to, especially if you're working out. And so I don't think you need to restrict like that. I mean, if you're getting ready for a competition and you need to sort of, speed up the process, you can do that, but it's going to cost you on the other side. It's going to slow down your metabolism a bit, and then you're going to put that weight back on when you start eating again. And, so I don't think that's a great way to do it. And the thing is too, you're talking about your body composition changed dramatically. That's great. So, you only lost 6 pounds. Who cares? I don't want to lose weight. I don't want to be less of a person. I just want to have low body fat percentage and good musculature. That's what I want. Muscle is more dense than fat. And so putting on a small volume of muscle equates to a larger volume of fat. And so if you're only losing 6 pounds, but you put on muscle, then you've lost a lot more than 6 pounds of fat. And that's why your body composition has changed. So, you can alter how much you're eating to get down to your goal, but you're going to do it at the expense of your metabolism, and you're going to then put it back on afterwards. So maybe not what you want to do. If you're trying to get down into a slim suit to go to high school reunion or something like that, okay, do what you got to do, but I don't think it's good long term. I think exercise is very key. Weight training, resistance training, strength training, sprinting, high intensity interval training. So a HIIT training. So sprinting hard as you can for as long as you can, then you rest, you catch your breath, you do it again. And you just do that, running, sprinting hills, lifting weights, all these sorts of things. Those are fantastic workouts for you. They will have you put on muscle. They will make you use your muscles, which makes you use your fat. And so you train fasted and you sprint and you lift weights and you do it until muscle fatigue and exhaustion, or temporary muscle fatigue and exhaustion. And and by doing that, you'll lose more fat. If you can play a sport, that's fantastic. These high intensity sports where you're really pushing yourself and you don't realize it, but you're spending hours running and sprinting and doing those sorts of things. It's a lot easier to get into really good shape when you're doing a sport than if you're just, okay, I'm just going to do sprint relays for the next 3 hours. That is just mind-numbingly boring and is awful. And you're just, it's terrible. If I make a break and I'm sprinting, I'm trying to, outpace people to score a try. Like, I'm going to work hard as I can without even thinking about it. And I get to the end, I'm like, oh my God, okay, that was hard work. Or I'm chasing someone because they've made a break and I'm like, I've got to catch this guy. You're not thinking about how hard you're working. You're just working as hard as you can. And so you can go a lot longer and a lot harder because you're distracted and you're doing something else that you're focusing on. And it's a lot easier to do that. And it's a lot easier to work hard when you're in that sort of situation than if you're just doing sprints on a track. It just is, at least for me anyway. So that's what I would do. I would just focus more on the exercise side of things, weight training and sprinting, to try to get your body composition where you want it, and just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. Yeah. Okay, let me see how many super chats we've got. We've got probably got enough here. I've got about 50 minutes. So why don't we cut off the super chats now, and we'll try to get through everything that we can. And then if we can open them back up, we can. If we go through, if the questions are more quick, or we can just sort of answer other questions as well that people have asked that aren't super chats. Okay, so Ale or Ali, thank you for the super chat. Can carnivore cause fluid pimple like on hands that are itchy? Shouldn't. Sounds like you're sort of reacting to something, either something that's in your environment, something sitting on your hands, possibly something that you're eating, but it's not going to be meat that does that. It's just it's just you're reacting. That sounds like something that you're reacting to. Fluid pimples like on the hands. I mean, yeah. So you have to sort of see it, but I mean, something like that, you could. You look like, things like shingles and those sorts of things that can be those nasty little itchy, horrible things on your hands. It could be something like that. It could be like an actual, viral sort of rash, infection sort of thing that, maybe get checked out by your doctor. It could have nothing to do with carnivore at all. Yeah, so I would check that out, probably get someone to take a look at that. Carnivore wouldn't cause that. If you're reacting to something, having like a sort of a weird allergic reaction to something, then sure, you can get weird rashes. But fluid filled pimple like sort of things, that sort of sounds different. And so that's something you should probably just get checked out, and maybe you go on some antivirals or something like that, and that clears it up. But no, carnivore won't do that. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. Okay, Jorge RM, thank you for the super chat. Did carnivore for 3 weeks, lost 13 pounds the first week. Very cool. Felt okay. Then after that, felt great. Wondering how long it would take for significant testosterone level increases. It's individual, but I regularly see. I test people first when they come in. Try to get them on a carnivore diet, and then check them again sort of 6 to 8 weeks later. And typically, I see a significant improvement in testosterone in that time. So, I'd say give it 2 months and check your testosterone levels again and see how you go. It's very important how you take testosterone, and all your tests really, but testosterone is in particular. You need to take it first thing in the morning because you get your hit of testosterone first thing in the morning, like when you wake up or just before you wake up, and then it spikes up and then it goes down, right? So if you test your testosterone in the afternoon or midday, it's going to be lower than if you had checked it that first thing in the morning. So check it first thing in the morning between 8 and 9 a.m., fasting from the night before 12 p.m. 9 p.m., and you only drink water after that. Only drink water in the morning. No coffee, tea, cigarettes, heroin, anything. No food either in the morning until after no medications either until after your blood test. And then no exercise, stress, or sexual activity for 48 hours before you take your blood test. All those things can affect how your testosterone levels come out and all your other blood tests come out. And if you're taking supplements like B vitamins that contain biotin. Biotin is a B vitamin that's in most multivitamins or B vitamin complexes. That can disrupt your hormonal panels as well. So you need to stop taking those for 3 days before you would do it, 3 to 5 days before you take your blood panel. So all those things matter. So yeah, just wait 2 months and then test your testosterone in that way, and you'll probably see an improvement. But you'll probably see an improvement after that as well. So just if you don't see a big jump right away, just wait another few months and see how you go as well. Lifting weights, sprinting, proper sleep, all will help as well. And chronic cardio and just long prolonged cardio can actually dampen your testosterone levels as well. So just keep that in mind as well. Damian Williams, thank you very much for the super chat. Good evening. My tadpole comment last time was an example of a species where individual members have different optimal diets. Half the group is herbivore and the other half cannibalistic or carnivore. Well, it's interesting because, like you said, under different conditions, they can eat different things. And then when those conditions change, the vegetarian ones die off, but the cannibalistic ones, carnivore ones actually survive. So is it really optimal? They may eat different things, but is that optimal? Sometimes, you have to eat just to survive. You eat certain things because you have to, because you're not one of the bigger, stronger tadpoles that can eat the other tadpoles and bugs and things like that. And maybe you have to eat these other things in order to survive. But is that optimal? Is that the best that they could ever do? Just because they do eat it doesn't mean that's the best thing that they could ever eat. But that's a good thought as well. Yeah. But just by your own example, when you mentioned that, what you said, and I don't study tadpoles, so I don't know, but but from what you said, that when the conditions change, when then the conditions worsen or harshen, the the herbivorous ones died out and the cannibalistic ones survive. So wouldn't that be optimal? I would probably argue that it is. So, but yeah, it is interesting that they would eat different things, but it could just very well be because they're not capable of getting their more optimal diet, and that happens. And that's a survival advantage. That absolutely is a survival advantage in humans. We've been able to eat plants and survive more so than a lion. Like a lion, if it doesn't get a kill, it's dead. If a crocodile doesn't get a kill, it's dead. And but that's not the case for us. We can survive. And so 100% that's a survival advantage, but that doesn't mean that it's optimal. It doesn't mean that's the absolute best thing for our physiology. And that's an important distinction. Tulip O'Hare, thank you very much for the super chat. How do you feel about taking herbal tinctures and medications like ashwagandha, valerian, etc., even though they have plant toxins? I typically don't. It depends on, and any medicine should be only taken medicinally. You don't take antibiotics every day. I wouldn't take augmentin every day just because, it's like, oh, but it has antibacterial effects. Like, yeah, that's the entire point, and it can kill all the gut flora and things that you want there, and cause a bunch of side effects. You don't take medications every day just because. You take food every day just because. But you don't need medicine every day. If you have a specific health issue and concern that can help with, sure. I mean, we've been using herbal remedies and plants medicinally for thousands of years at the least. And, that's fine, if you have that illness, because you do get the bad with the good. And so you get the good results, if you have a specific issue, like you have an infection, you take this and it helps you clear that infection, great. But you wouldn't take that otherwise, because it does have other effects that are negative and other things that are bad for you, like these different plant toxins. And it really, realistically, the medicine side of things are the plant toxins. And just those plant toxins are killing more bacteria and fungus than they are killing you. And so it's a net benefit. But if you don't have a bacterial infection or a fungal infection, and you take that poison that's going to kill them, it's also going to hurt you, and you're not getting any benefit from it. So it's the plant toxins that actually are acting medicinally in those certain circumstances, because the definition of a medicine is a toxin that under certain circumstances confers more benefit than harm. But outside of those conditions, it's only conferring the harm. So, you need to be careful about that. So if you have some specific health issue that you're taking that for that can help with, go for it. I mean, I think it's probably going to be safer to take an actual medicine where they've extracted out the active ingredient that actually does what you want, and doesn't bring along with it all the negative stuff as well. Because, again, you do get the good with the bad, and so you don't want that. You just want the good, and that's what pills provide. But again, you don't take medicine unless you have a specific illness. Sydney K, thank you very much for the super chat. Can you talk a bit about doing carnivore while pregnant? Any supplementation to include? No, you don't have to supplement anything. You just need to make sure that the meat that you're eating is good quality, that you're getting enough fat. It's very important for that baby and the growing brain. And I would probably include a couple ounces of liver every day, just to make sure that you're getting everything you need, all the B12 and folate and D and all the different myriad nutrients that are much more abundant in liver. You don't need to go crazy. You don't have to have pounds of liver a day or even a week. Just a few ounces a day, and while you're pregnant, because your body has a much higher demand for these nutrients. And grass finished beef is great, but it's not as good as grain finished beef is great, but it's not as good as grass finished, and it's not as good as regenerative. It's not as good as wild. It's not as good as these other sorts of things. And so you want to make sure that, and the soil isn't the same as it was, even 50 years ago. So you want to make sure that you're getting all the nutrients you need, and liver does that. Some people need a bit more folate. They have MTHFR, something like that. And so maybe they won't get as much folate as they need for muscle meat. Most people do. When I check people's folate levels, it's almost always, in good ranges when they're on a carnivore diet, just like their B12 is, and some aren't. And so, you just need to be aware of that. And those people, you take in some liver, you're fine. There are people that argue that you don't even need folate as long as you have enough B12. But, when you're talking about a baby, I'm not taking any chances with that. Just eat some damn liver and get your folate up, and make sure your folate's up. So there's the sorts of things. There's anything particularly special that you have to do. I would just make sure that the quality of meat that you're eating is meeting your nutritional demands. And so if you want to take a prenatal vitamin, fine. A liver, liver is a multivitamin. It's nature's multivitamin. And so I would at least do that. If you want to take some other vitamins, things like that to cover your bases, you can. Liver will cover it. And so just eating a lot of fatty meat, eating until it stops tasting good, having a couple ounces of liver a day. Raw liver is great too. That's something that Del Davis, who's probably one of the only nutritionists that I've ever respected. Not really, but she got a lot of things right, back working with very, very little information and just trying to try to figure things out on her own. So she's actually has quite a lot of good information, but some things I sort of look at that and go like, yeah, well, we, sort of like that one didn't age well, but things like liver. She was a big fan of liver and raw liver as well, especially for pregnant women and breastfeeding women. It's just super nutritious and it's going to be really, really good for you and the baby. So I would look into that. And raw liver tastes 1,000 times better than cooked liver. So word of the wise, I don't even like cooked liver, but I will eat a little raw liver. That stuff's good. I've got some in the fridge. I'm going to eat it today. Vladimir, thank you very much for the super chat. What are your thoughts on raw grass ground beef? I'm having it 2 pounds a day plus 20 raw eggs. I don't really know what raw grass ground beef is, or raw eggs either. Regeneratively raised? I don't know. A day and feel amazing. Carnivore for 1 year. Raw for 2 weeks. Raw? I really don't know what the hell raw is. Raw? Are we saying raw? Raw is fine as long as it's not as long as it's you're saying like fish eggs, but no, it's not fish eggs because that's we're saying raw grass ground beef. So that's fish roe obviously, but raw eggs, that could be it, but not raw grass fed beef. So I'm maybe raw. Maybe we're talking about raw here. Not too sure. Raw is fine just as long as there's no contaminants and things like that. If there's contamination, there's bacteria on it, you could get a problem with that if you're eating it with and you haven't drank water in the last few hours. Then your stomach acid will be much more concentrated and you can sort of clear up a lot of bacteria. So you'll probably be able to kill more bacteria than if you weren't in that situation. But that's the only major thing you have to be careful. Maybe you can comment and see, are you talking about raw or are you talking about something else? Because I'm not too sure what raw grass ground beef would be. So maybe if you can comment that, we can take a look at that. But yeah, that's my thought on raw anyway. So here's the question from X, from Princess Parastasia. Switching from vegan to carnivore last year, I lost weight really fast. Now I look like the carnivore version of the Ozempic effect. Any way to fix this? Well, first of all, thank you very much for being open-minded enough to try something so different, polar opposite from what you were doing before, going from vegan to carnivore. The vast majority of people that follow me on YouTube and social media were in that position. They were either plant-based or even full vegan, and then because of health reasons, or just because, there's the same motivations. You want to be healthy, you want to do the right thing for your body and the planet. And so you go vegan for those reasons. And then you start coming across things like, maybe actually it's the opposite. Maybe I was told a bunch of lies by people with special interests. And so invested interests. So, good for you for trying that. If other people have gone plant-based to carnivore, maybe comment and see what, maybe, comment and let us know what your experience has been with that as well, and how you felt on, on vegan or plant-based versus carnivore. That'd be very interesting for a lot of people to see. As far as the Ozempic effect, losing weight, if you're losing more weight than you think you want or is healthy, you just need to eat more. You need to eat more fatty meat until it stops tasting good. And it's very different. You're not eating like, I can stop here, so I should stop there. No, you want to eat until you get a bite that sort of tastes like cardboard, and you just go like, I don't really want to keep going anymore. Because you can actually listen to your satiety signals now. You can listen to your body. And if your body's telling you to keep eating and it still tastes good, then you should listen to that and keep eating. If you are only eating fatty meat, and if you are only eating water, you mix that up, you start adding in even dairy, that can sort of change that up and make you eat more than your body actually wants. So, but listen to that. Listen to your body. Keep eating until fatty meat stops tasting good, and you'll be able to put on lean body mass, and you won't lose too much weight. And thanks for giving it a try. I'm glad that you lost weight and that you're hopefully feeling better too. Make sure you're eating enough. It is really easy to undereat on a carnivore diet, and you can lose more weight than you want to. So don't do that. Make sure you're getting enough, and you'll do fine. Tony Vargas, thank you for the super chat. Can you explain how hormones affect fat storage and how sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar? You're a beast. Hit the like and share. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate that. Look, it's, calories are important, but they're not the most important factor there. If you don't have insulin, you cannot store any of the calories that you eat. Oh my God, but the first law of thermodynamics. First law of thermodynamics only applies to closed systems where things cannot go in or out. So you're saying there's X amount of energy in this system that cannot be created or destroyed. Fine. We're not a closed system. We breathe, we spit, we pee, we defecate, we eat. Things are coming in, things are going out all the time. And so that's the definition of an open system. And so the planet is more in keeping with a closed system, but it's still not a closed system. There's still inputs and outputs as well. But if you get energy in your body and you say, but it can't be destroyed, so it has to be, if it's not used, then it's going to go into your fat. No, people pee it out. That's where diabetes mellitus comes from. Diabetes, a lot of pee, mellitus, sweet. So sweet tasting urine because you're peeing out glucose. So that's energy. That's energy that you're not storing. You're peeing it out, and your ketones go way up. You go diabetic ketoacidosis, ketones way up, glucose way up, and you're peeing them both out, right? So look at that. You're not destroying energy, and yet you're not storing it either, because you can't. Because if you do not have insulin, you cannot grow your fat cells. You cannot store fat. Insulin is the fat storage hormone. And so without it, and without the effects of insulin, you're not storing fat. So calories, while they are necessary, they're not sufficient to put on fat, right? And so if you have a type 1 diabetic that doesn't make any insulin, it doesn't matter how much they eat, they cannot put on weight. They waste away until they die. They can't put on muscle, they can't put on fat. They just waste away until they die. And they could eat 50,000 calories a day. They could eat 50 million calories a day. It doesn't matter. They will not store any of it, and they won't be able to survive without insulin. So it doesn't matter how many calories you eat if your hormones are out of balance. And if your hormones are out of balance, it doesn't matter what you eat, you're going to start storing fat. So people have something called an insulinoma, that is a tumor that secretes insulin. It doesn't matter what these people eat. They get enormously obese very quickly. And and they feel horrible and wretched. Everything they put in their body, that just gets stored into fat. So they have horrible energy. Their metabolism is so slow. The higher your insulin, the lower your metabolism. And so you feel horrible and lethargic and tired and miserable. And, and you're just getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And it's just, it's really not fun. And then you get that thing cut out and just shrink right back down, so it's, it's very much dependent on your hormones. And and that's just something that just understand. There's some things that are more insulinogenic. So you eat carbohydrates, it slams up your insulin because high blood sugar is toxic. High blood sugar kills people. This is what kills diabetics. This is what makes your toes rot and fall off, and then you get your foot amputated, and then your legs, and then your kidneys start to fail, and then your eyes start to fail, and then your heart starts to fail, and you get Alzheimer's, and your brain starts to fail, and you get this high blood sugar is damaging your vessels, and that's damaging the blood supply to different parts of your body, to your eyes, and your retina, to your kidneys, to your feet, to your brain, all these sorts of things, and to your heart. You're building up atherosclerosis and more damage, and you die. That comes from high blood sugar. Right? 1 extra gram of blood sugar. And we're eating hundreds of grams of blood sugar, and your body's going, oh my God. It's trying to keep your blood sugar under 4 grams. And you just eating 400 grams. And you're just like, what the hell do you think that was going to do? Right? So this is just desperately trying to get this the hell out. And it raises insulin as a result. Insulin affects over 100 different mechanisms in your body. Right? So just saying that, oh, well, your blood sugar goes up and your insulin goes up, and that just drives energy into cells. Oh, that's what it's supposed to do. No, it's not. It's supposed to do that down here at physiological levels, but you're up here at super physiological levels. It's going out of balance. Now, if the only thing it was doing was driving energy into cells, that would be one thing, but it's not. It has over 100 different mechanisms that it affects in the body and the brain. And so by raising your blood sugar and raising your insulin, you are now elevating your insulin, so it's affecting everything at this elevated level, and everything's out of balance. It actually causes a lot of harm. But it's so important for your body to keep your blood sugar under 4 grams, because you die otherwise, given time, that it's willing to screw up those 100 plus different mechanisms in your body by jacking up your insulin. It's that important. So, the idea that you just that this doesn't matter and that these hormones don't matter, and just eat whatever the hell you want as long as you keep your calories down, is it's just really ignorant of the facts, and it actually hurts people, and that's a fact. And people say, oh, well, people all the time is like, well, I'm cutting calories, I'm eating less, I can't lose weight. And people just call them liars. Like, oh, that's lying. You're a liar. You're not in a calorie deficit. I'm like, no, you're just an idiot. You don't understand how the body works, and you don't know what biochemistry is. Now, some of these idiots say they have degrees in biochemistry or have taken biochemistry. They clearly weren't paying attention, or they just, flirted with a teacher or something like that, or went to a shitty school, but they did not understand biochemistry, and they do not understand its application in medicine and weight loss. So, hormones matter. Calories matter too. Hormones matter more. Fred, thank you very much for the super chat. Missing the question of bacteria, fungus, and viruses in your speech. Plants aren't the problem alone. Well, look, I mean, there's whole bunches of things that obviously affect us, positively or negatively. The idea with the plants are trying to kill you. I mean, it's just pointing out that there are more things out there that can cause harm, and that we should be aware of that. But yeah, certainly, viruses and fungi and bacteria and all these sorts of things do play a significant role. Not maybe as much of a role in our diet, which is, sort of what I speak about. Just say, hey, what inputs are you putting into your body? And those do affect bacteria, fungus, and viruses as well, because when you're putting the right inputs in your body and your immune system works well, then you're able to fight off all of these, opportunistic sort of infections as well, and your body is just healthier, and you weather the storm of all these would-be assaults much more appropriately. So, all these things do matter, of course, and our diet is just one part of the big puzzle of overall good health. You want to get outside, you want to be in the sun, you want to have good, family and social connections, you want to bond with people and animals and the world around you, and you want to get proper sleep, you want to reduce stress, you want to exercise. All these things are insanely important. But it's so it is important to remember this is one part of the bigger picture. But it's just really talking about like the food that you're eating can be harmful or beneficial, and so understanding which ones are actually harmful and beneficial is really important, because they've said that plants are all good and that meat is all bad, and that saturated fat is always bad and cholesterol is always bad, and it's exactly the opposite. And so that's the main point that I try to make with my videos is that of nutrition. Mrs. Meat Suit, thank you very much for the super chat. Hubs is having gallbladder issues. Told it needs to come out. Has near constant pain and sludge, no stones. Can the gallbladder heal itself, or is surgery the only way? Thanks for all your wisdom. Yeah, it can heal itself. I mean, there is a point at which it's, not going to, and you could get into an acute situation where it's very inflamed and damaging, or ruptures or something like that. And you have to get surgery. But no, there are a lot of people that improve their symptomatic gallbladder issues, even when they have stones and they go carnivore and they eat a lot of fat. That sludge is concentrated, and there's very concentrated bile that is now forming precipitates, right? It's forming crystals, right? And then the stones are, bigger crystals. So why does it do that? Because you're not eating enough fat. If you're not eating enough fat, then you're just going to sit there, and it's going to sit there and concentrate more and more, because you're not expressing it out to go and absorb that fat. So you need to eat fat. At a certain point, you're going to get stones, and they're going to be too big, and you're not going to pass them, and they're going to get stuck, and you're going to get hurt. If you're still in the bile sludge phase, though, you could absolutely pass those out and not have an issue with them. But it might be a bit sore and painful because the thing's inflamed. Sorry, my voice is throat's getting a little dry, but yeah, but with the sludge side of things, if you're still just in the sludge phase, he can definitely recover from that. Well, he can recover from that. Not to say that he necessarily will recover from that. There could be problems that necessitates surgery. But if it's not an acute emergency and he's not sick and unwell and having a problem that's just like, look, this is a matter of urgency, then then there's time to think about it, and try a high fat carnivore diet, and give his body a chance to recover. And if symptoms go away and the sludge clears up and his gallbladder calms down, great. If he needs to get it taken out, if it sort of becomes an emergency situation and he has to do it, that's fine too. You can do carnivore without a gallbladder. You just need to split up your fatty meals throughout the day. And most people actually form a pseudo gallbladder, which is an outpouching of the common bile duct. And that actually acts as a gallbladder. You can get stones in them too, I believe. And so that can allow you to eat sort of more one meal a day, big fatty meal at one time. And and so, but if not, then you just split up the fatty meals throughout the day. You still eat the same amount of fat. You just do it in 5 meals instead of 1 or 2. And that can be fine. But no, I think it's well worth giving it a try, unless he's in a place where it's just like, look, this is an emergency and your life is at risk and you need surgery, get the damn surgery. But other than that, it's, you have time. And apparently Rosalind doesn't like me fidgeting with the mic. Well, too bad, Rosalind. So Southpaw Jack, thank you very much for the super chat. Dr. Chaffee, from your experienced perspective, what are your thoughts on pursuing an academic degree in this field with the amount of brainwashing in the education system today? God bless. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? People pay a lot of attention to the letters after your name, and they say, "Well, you're not a nutritionist, you don't get to say this." And then you say something, "Oh, well, you're a nutritionist." Oh, but you're not a doctor, you're not allowed to say this. And it's just like, shut up. They're just gonna make an excuse no matter what you do. You will get people that put a lot of credence on your on your titles and things like that. There will be some beneficial things that can come from degrees like this. you get a degree in biochemistry. Biochemistry really is nutrition, and you get like a, or like a master's in nutritional biochemistry. That's going to be a much more rigorous examination of how our bodies work on a certain nutritional demands and things like that. And but just keeping that open mind and understanding, and that they might not have all the answers, and that they are influenced by different industries and people that may not be as accurate as it could be. So there are people doing this, and there are people still getting nutritional degrees and then saying, okay, I have a qualification. I'm a qualified nutritionist, and this is all bullshit. And and go this other way. And you can structure your practice any way you want. If you want to be a nutritionist in a hospital, probably going to be a bit difficult, because you sort of have to follow the textbook when you're in the hospital setting, or you can sort of lose your job. And so you'd probably have to be an independent nutritionist and set up your own practice as an online sort of health coach or nutritionist and things like that, and then do what you think is actually beneficial, and then you work with your clients and patients, and you see what works, and then you say, yeah, okay, this is what I was taught, and it doesn't really work that well, and this is what I've learned on my own, and this actually works a lot better. And that's what you do. And that's what everybody should do. That's what Hippocrates said, 2,500 years ago. You don't just do things to do them. You do what works. You do the things that work for your patients. And so if you're getting told, well, but this is what the study says, this is what the guideline says, and you're seeing it hurt people, you are under ethical obligation to not do that, and to do the thing that you're seeing that works. And so I see my patients, they do massively better on a carnivore diet. It would be unethical and immoral of me to do anything else, because I can see the difference. I'm not blind to that. And so, this is not a small difference. It's a massive, massive difference. And I see it every time. And I say, hey, here are your bloods. They're off. This is because you're eating X, Y, and Z. And if you cut out all that and just eat fatty meat, this is what will change. And in 2 months later, they all change that way, and they feel amazing. They've lost weight, and most people lose weight early on. Some people take longer, and they just feel amazing. They're like, everything you're saying was true. I'm coming off medications. I don't need any of these things anymore. Coming off testosterone, coming off HRT, coming off blood pressure medications, coming off diabetes medications. They're reversing autoimmunity. They're reversing diabetes. It's like you can't ethically do anything else once you see that, and you're not supposed to. That's part of the original teachings of Hippocrates was to not just do things. And then they were talking about, like praying to Apollo and all that sort of stuff. No, you need to do things that work. You need to do things that you see work. Right. And so, we're back praying to Apollo. We're praying to the guidelines. We're praying to the nutritional studies. I mean, it's nonsense. It's like, no, you need to do what works. So you work with your patients and you do what works. And if something that you're doing isn't really working well, and you try something else and it works better, you do that thing, you do that other thing. And then maybe you publish on it and try to get other people aware of this, which is what we're trying to do now, in the carnivore community. But you still do it, I mean, there's plenty of information. There's plenty of of evidence to show that this is the right way to eat, and this is going to help people's health in a number of ways. And when you do it and you see the dramatic effect it has on people's health, you can't just, but the guideline, no, screw the guidelines. The guidelines are a guideline. They're there. If you have no freaking clue what you're doing, you just follow this path that someone's laid out for you until you get out of diapers and can actually, think for yourself. And that's fine. Having a guideline when you're really new and you need to follow something. So you follow the guidelines, and then you learn better. And you go like, yeah, okay, that was cute, but training wheels are off now. I'm going off road, and I'm going to get the job done. And that's what you do. So it can be a bit frustrating, but there are people going through it, and you just keep that in mind. You're like, well, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. I mean, I did that in medical school. I look back at my old notes, and like, I know they're my notes because there's all these like snarky, smart ass comments. I'm like, well, that's complete, under something that the lecturer says, like, well, that's complete bullshit, and this is why, and there's a link for something, and all this other sorts of stuff. And and just have that in mind, that your professors don't always know everything. No one knows everything. There's not a single human being ever in human history that has ever known even 1% of the totality of human knowledge. It's not possible, which is way too much. And anybody who thinks they just know everything knows even less. As Thomas Sowell said, it takes a lot of knowledge to understand just how ignorant we are. And so if you think, oh, no, I just know everything, you are even more ignorant than that. You don't even have enough knowledge to understand how ignorant you are. And so, just understand that they may not know everything. You keep your own counsel, listen to what they have to say, and apply the things that you think are correct and are going to help people. And be that from your formal teaching or from your own studies. That's the important thing, is when you're a professional, you do your own research and you do your own study, and you are a researcher, and you're furthering the boundaries of human understanding. People saying that, oh, you just have to stay in this box. No one's allowed to question anything. Well, then there's no progress. You will never progress anywhere in our understanding of anything. No, you just have to stay here and just do what no, F off. That's wholly ignorant, and just they don't understand what it means to be a professional and an adult. You always question things. You always push the boundaries. That's how you push the boundaries, by questioning where those boundaries are set, right? And that's what you do. So, but yeah, there's a lot of brainwashing, and you could certainly get through it, but it might be frustrating to go through that. But people do, put stake in that. And so it depends on what you want to do with your career. If you want to be a nutritionist or have an academic degree in something else, you can do that, become a professional, and then push your way. It was a bit weird if you're going for an academic position. It's publish or perish. You've got to publish a lot of stuff, and and early on, if you're sort of making waves early on, it may be more difficult to get published and to get tenure. And so some people say, well, I'll start making waves when I have tenure. And usually by that point, they've been in their career for 10, 15 years, and they're just so used to just towing the line that they never push any boundaries. So, it's a difficult one, but I think you just get the degree that you think is going to help your life and your understanding of the world, and help you in your career. And then you push boundaries, and you push back on people, and you try to, show with, good evidence, how the world really works. And unfortunately, we have to do that through the systems that are at the moment, but there's still a lot of good information that you can learn in these institutions. And, and then you can help undo some of the misinformation as well from the inside. So that's something to be, so that's a good thing too. Cusacks Hikes, or Cusacks Hike, thank you for the super chat. Hey doc, do you have any suggestions on how to have carnivore food prepared for a family of 5, 2 jobs in school, sports to deal with? Yeah, roasts are really good. You put a roast in the oven in the morning at like a low heat, at like 170 degrees Fahrenheit. That's that's not going to burn or scorch or anything like that. Just slow roast it, cook it over the end of over the day. Put in the beginning is, it's good to have someone at home with that. You don't want to leave the oven on with people not there, just for safety reasons. But if you're able to do that, just put a roast in the morning. Everyone comes home. You have this big roast for the family at the end of the day. Eggs, in the morning. Steak and eggs in the morning. You can, chop up steaks, send it to people with, for lunch. But, typically if you're eating a lot of carnivore, high fat carnivore diet, you don't need to eat 3 times a day, growing kids and things like that, maybe a bit more. Um, and then, there's like just a bunch of food at night, so roasts are really good because it's a lot of meat in one go, and you sort of, see how much your family needs. And then the next morning, you have the leftovers and you chop those up, you fry those up with some eggs, eat that for breakfast. And you typically don't need lunch, or maybe that becomes your lunch the next day, or your kids' lunch. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's the same as everything else, but roasts are a good idea when you're feeding families, because they're cheaper, they're easier because you're just cooking one big thing in a go, and they just sit there. You just put it in the oven, and it just sits there, and so those are good options as well. And then the leftovers the next day are breakfast and lunch. Add in some eggs, things like that. Those are pretty good options as well. For us, we maybe have some eggs in the morning. I don't really eat breakfast. If I'm working out more, I might, but I just typically just will cook up a steak. Steaks take only a few minutes to cook. Air fryers are really easy as well, but have a big family of 5. You don't want to cook everything in an air fryer because it actually will take too long. But for an individual, just cook up a steak real quick. Air fryer is great. And so then we'll, cook cook a steak for everybody, maybe cook some eggs for everybody, and have some other sorts of, fat chopped up and cooked up and things like that on the side. And any leftovers become lunch the next day, typically, or those sorts of things. Yeah, I think that's pretty good way to do it anyway. And so yeah, hopefully that helps. Callow80, thank you very much for the super chat. Wife asking, is carnivore diet safe for her with gallbladder taken out? Doctor says no. When do we stop listening to the doctors? Yeah, there's a lot of gallbladder questions today, I've noticed, like in the super chats and the normal chats. And yeah, of course it is. I mean, like you make bile in your liver. You don't make it in your gallbladder. I don't know why the doctor would say no. It's a good question to ask them. It's like, okay, why? It's really is a fair question. Asking why is fair, and it doesn't have to be, confronting. You have to, well, why? I mean, you could if they're just being an ass about it, but say, is that safe? No, it's not safe without a gallbladder. Okay, why is that? They're not gonna have a good answer, because you make bile from your liver. It's stored in the gallbladder and is concentrated, so that if you don't eat every day or every few days, you have more concentrated bile, so that you can absorb a big bolus of fat in one go, because you need the fat. That's very important. And so it's you still make the bile, and it still goes into your intestine. You just need to split up the fatty meals throughout the day, but you still make bile. And that's good. You want to make bile because you need fat. You have to have fat. You die without fat. And so, it's just, you may not be able to eat a big fatty meal in one go, because you might not absorb all the fat and you'll just get diarrhea. So you just split up those fatty meals throughout the day. And then you might form a pseudo gallbladder. A lot of people do form a pseudo gallbladder, and then that works just like a gallbladder. And then you just eat once a day, twice a day, as you see fit. So yeah, you can 100% do carnivore as with a gallbladder taken out. And there are thousands of people, tens of thousands of people doing it right now. I'm sure there's probably people in this chat right now watching this video who've done that. So please do, if you have your gallbladder out, please tell us your experience with carnivore, and how that works, and help reassure this gentleman and his wife. Nettie Daniel, thank you very much for the super chat. I have incredible pain in my body since beginning. That's not good. I know this is part of it, but can I do anything to help? I work out daily. Well, yeah, most people actually improve their pain symptoms, and they reduce inflammation. They increase their ketones, which also reduces inflammation, and their pain typically gets better. If you're having pain from withdrawals, then unfortunately you just have to sort of wait it out. If Tylenol or Advil helps, and great. Just eat a lot of fatty meat, and if it is withdrawals, then it should get out of your body in the next sort of 2-3 weeks, and hopefully it does. It also depends on sort of what is causing the pain. Of course, if you have a bit of an injury and you're working out and that's exacerbating things, then a good idea to rest and just let your body recover. But if you have sort of overall generalized pain and you think that's something to do with withdrawals, then just eat as much fatty meat as you can. Try to rest if you need to, and hopefully it sort of goes away, because that is abnormal, that people would actually get worsening pain from going carnivore. It's usually like the plant toxins and the junk food and all that sort of garbage that increases the pain as well. Try eating, sometimes, pain issues like fibromyalgia can come from taurine deficiencies, and taurine gets cooked out when you cook meat. So maybe try a bit less cooked meat, some rare steaks, for example. See if that helps. You do make taurine, but you make it in your liver, and that goes out in your bile, and then you need to reabsorb the bile. So people saying, hey, you should eat a lot of fiber and take medications to strip out your bile so that you lower your cholesterol. Well, you're also lowering your taurine and other sorts of nutrients, and you're not absorbing fat, which is super important as well. So it's that's one thing that people have found, that taurine deficiencies can actually exacerbate pain disorders like fibromyalgia. So maybe give that a try, just as an aside that could possibly do something. But you'll be making taurine anyway. It's just a matter of absorbing it. So eat a lot of fatty meat, maybe have some rare steak, and for the taurine, and hopefully that helps. And hopefully this is just a bit of withdrawals that go away soon. And good luck with that. I'm sorry that's happening. Ayler R, thank you very much for the super chat. Perhaps you've gotten this question before, but I'm curious about your cat's diet. Yeah, raw meat all the way. So cats have to have raw meat. First of all, they require taurine. They don't make taurine, so they have to get it from their diet. So you can't really cook it. I mean, they can have a bit of cooked meat, but they need raw meat as well, because they need the different amino acids and nutrients that can get cooked out when you cook meat. And for very interesting research on this, look up Pottinger's cats. Funny enough, I think my mom was a patient of the original Dr. Pottinger, and she was unwell with something, and he thought it was a nutritional deficiency, and he prescribed her raw liver, and just said, hey, she needs to eat liver, but it needs to be raw, and cleared it right up. Pretty cool. And then Weston A. Price, he actually teamed up with the original Dr. Pottinger from Pottinger's Cats, who studied the whole cooked versus raw diet for cats, and found it made a huge difference. And that's a very interesting study. People should look that up. There's descriptions of it on YouTube, using some of the original pictures from the time. And the original Weston A. Price foundation. It was a Weston A. Price Foundation. That's actually a more recent foundation. The original was the Price Pottinger Foundation. That's with Price and the Dr. Pottingers from Pottinger's Cats, who apparently was someone my mom went to as a kid, or got taken to, which is very interesting. She grew up in Southern California. So so we feed my cat meat. He's never eaten anything else. We've never given him kibble or anything like that. And it's the wrong teeth. They have real pointy teeth. Why are you giving them hard, crunchy nonsense? They need meat, and so I give them raw meat in particular. Sometimes we'll give them some rare cooked steak with a bit of whatever, but I try to give him the more raw parts, and because he just freaks out. He just wants to eat whatever the hell we're eating, and so he just gets meat, and meat like the whole meat, not like minced up meat. I'm trying to give him like actual meat that he has to chew and rip off the bones, good for their teeth as well. And and he's super healthy. He's never had an issue ever in his life. Just very, very lean, muscular, healthy, happy little cat. And we do that for our dogs too. Same thing. Kurt William, thank you very much for the very generous super chat. It's very kind of you. Kurt says, thank you for your work. I have benefited from it. Also an inspiration, a small token. I appreciate it. Well, thank you, Kurt. That's really, really kind of you. I really appreciate that. And thank you for coming on. I'm really glad that this has helped. I mean, that's the whole point. This is not my day job. This is not what I want to do as a career. Like, I like seeing patients. I like doing surgery. I like just being, out and then seeing people face to face. But this has been amazing to be able to reach so many more people and to get this information out there. But I mean, this is getting proper nutrition out there, I think is just an important thing to do. It's just a service to humanity. I mean, it shouldn't be like a job, like people should just know how to eat, and you should just be healthy. And then you should have doctors to help with the accidents and emergencies and traumas and things like that, and the acute issues that we've been treating for, thousands of years, and, the broken bones and head injuries and those sorts of things. And, that's what I want to get medicine back over to. And hopefully, my practice in metabolic medicine, doesn't have to be my whole career, because people just know how to eat and they don't have these problems in the first place. And they know that, well, if I'm getting sick, I should just start eating meat again. Yeah, I already know. I don't need a doctor to tell me that. And I don't need a bunch of medications. I just need to fix up my diet. I hope that we get to that point in the next, decade. But realistically, it's probably going to take longer than that. And we're probably all going to have a lot of work in the metabolic field. But it would be great if I could just do trauma surgery and just, help people who have had accidents and things like that. That would be that's my goal in life, is to get people healthy enough that we only have to worry about those acute emergencies. That would be a life accomplishment I would be very happy with. And I'm glad that, you and others are getting there already and getting a lot better. That's great. Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys. Yukino Moriyama, thank you very much for the super chat. Day 24 carnivore diet. I suffer muscle soreness due to exercise. Does it get better by simply intake of salt? I only eat meat, eggs, and butter. Yeah, sometimes people just have like a bit of things that are in their system. Maybe they drink coffee or tea, and that can absolutely cause soreness. You might still get just, a bit sore if you have some of these things in there, or things are still working out of your system. But it should be massively reduced on a carnivore diet, just eating meat and water and eggs. Other dairy, butter is usually okay. Other dairy can cause a bit of soreness. So I would wonder, is the soreness getting better, or is it just still sort of there? I'm like, it's supposed to be completely gone. It typically does get completely gone. But you might feel like, oh, okay, there's something going on there, but like that stiffness, pain, like, oh God, that shouldn't be there. That should be pretty much gone. And, if it is early on, you may benefit from increased salt intake. That usually doesn't have anything to do with soreness. That's typically to do with your energy levels and your blood pressure and things like that, and how intense of a workout you can get. And that's actually going back to that gentleman who's a year into carnivore and doesn't have much energy. Have you checked your electrolytes? Have you tried increasing electrolytes and salt and water, and increasing your levels? Some people just don't feel good unless they have added salt and that added electrolytes. My friend Dave Feldman, who does the lean mass hyperresponders research, he has to add a lot of salt, and he just wasn't really feeling great until he started adding salt, and that just changed his life. So, if you're having these sorts of issues and you don't know why, and you just have low energy and all this stuff, try salt. Try electrolyte, try more water, and see what that does to you, and check your bloods too, because you may have an absorption issue. But if you want to try some extra salt, try it, and if that helps, that should be great. I haven't really seen extra salt help with soreness, but worth a try. And just make sure everything else is out of your system and out of your diet, such as coffee, tea, alcohol, obviously, all those sorts of things, any additives, spices, seasonings, those sorts of things can all contribute. So just keep that in mind. Raw Truckin', thank you very much for the super chat. Any good CoQ10 supplement recommendations? My dad had open heart surgery recently and is on atorvastatin, and it depleted, his body of CoQ10. I don't know specific brands that would be better or worse. I think there's like some liquid stuff that I've seen at Costco. You just take a shot of that. I would take that. I mean, I think it's borderline malpractice putting anybody on atorvastatin and not putting them on CoQ10 as well, or even putting them on atorvastatin. I think is getting to the point of malpractice really at this point. But definitely without CoQ10, I think is just completely negligent as a doctor. So I don't know specific supplements brands that would be better, but just any trusted brand from like a reputable store like Costco or GNC or one of those places. And heart muscle has a lot of CoQ10, and which is why we want CoQ10 for our heart. It's funny, we take statins for our heart, and it depletes CoQ10, which damages our heart. It's a great idea, guys. And so just take a supplement, CoQ10 supplement. I take that every day, and maybe add in some heart. It has a bunch of CoQ10 in heart tissue. So super cheap too. And you just sort of chop it up, finely, and saute, stir it up, stir fry it up in some butter or tallow or ghee, and and just eat that little pile next to your meat, and tons of good nutrients in there as well. You can do the same thing with liver, or just eat the liver raw, eat the heart raw, eat the hearts of, get the strength of that animal in you, and by eating it. But I don't know that one supplement is good, is better than another. But heart definitely has a lot of CoQ10 as well. So I would do both, really. Jasmine Ortiz, thank you very much for the super chat. I've been on strict carnivore for 3 weeks. When do people typically get that awesome feeling and mental clarity everyone talks about and when on carnivore? Experiencing mental fog and energy dips. It's different for different people. Most people do start getting into it about where you're at. Make sure you are eating enough. Make sure you're eating enough fat. Make sure you have enough electrolytes. Make sure you're getting enough water. Those are all really important things, especially early on. It's very easy to undereat on a carnivore diet. Remember that. And if you're eating a big meal, you are going to be lethargic. You may have and just get more tired and be struggling a bit and have energy dips, like you're saying. So if you eat breakfast or you eat lunch, you can have a big dip after that because your body's just saying, hey, you've got your energy for the day. What the hell are you doing? Go to sleep, rest, relax, and recover. And obviously that doesn't fit very well in a busy schedule. And so try to eat more later in the day. If you are eating during the day, just take like a half meal, just sort of half of what you want, just take the edge off, and then go from there. And then again, enough water, enough food, enough fat in particular, and also get enough electrolytes as well. That's really important. Hello, boy. Hey, come here, buddy. Oh, little guy. Oh, you're so good. Just a good cat. Hey, buddy. So, fat bastard. Thank you very much for the super chat. I've noticed being on on carnivore, my veins seem like they're getting bigger. Doing carnivores, the only change I've made. What's up with that? You just get more vascular. You're also losing fat. You're losing more fat, subcutaneous fat, and that makes your veins pop out more and be more noticeable. But also, if you're working out and the muscles are getting bigger and they're demanding more blood, then you have to have more blood flowing in to the muscles, and so your veins have to expand to have them flow back out again. So the combination of those two things will get you more vascular. I get pretty vascular. I don't, even when I'm not really working out, seeing pictures of me, I usually my veins are pretty prominent. And when I get blood draws, the phlebotomist is usually pretty happy to see me because they're like, "Oh my God, this is, it's like a thumb or finger sized vein going down my elbow, so or the inside of my elbow, and like, so it's you're just moving more blood, and then you have lower subcutaneous fat, so it's more prominent, and that's usually what's going on there." Eric Guyman just said he's down to 317 pounds from 375 on carnivore is amazing. That's awesome, Eric. Really well done. That's fantastic. So it's a huge accomplishment. I mean, you're talking about 60 pounds is fantastic. And just eating as much as you want. Isn't that crazy? So that you don't have to starve yourself like, these yahoos are, oh, you have to be this calorie deficit. You have to starve yourself. It's just like, shut up. That's just, you just don't know how the body works, and your body will naturally put you in a calorie deficit. And it will also fix your hormones as well by just eating normal food. And so you can actually listen to your satiety hormone or satiety and hunger signals. Your body knows exactly what it wants. You just listen to it. You're just like every animal in the world. I've never seen a koala pull out a calculator to figure out its macros. And it just eats. It just eats, and something internally tells them when to stop and when to start. And I, you don't see some, koalas that are all fat and bloated and diabetic. Like, well, that just doesn't have any self-control, and I mean, it's just that's not how it works. That's not how life on Earth works. And if you are forgetting that, then you just aren't thinking about how the planet actually works and how life on Earth actually works, or you just don't know how it works, and you shouldn't be giving anyone advice in the first place. But that's great to see. Thank you for sharing that, and congratulations on such a dramatic weight loss. And keep going. You're doing great. Jay Carrero, thank you very much for the super chat. My 26-year-old son was just diagnosed with lupus with blood work. What meat do you recommend him to start reversing fatigue and lightheaded and fogginess? He is desperate for advice. Yeah, lion diet, 100% all the way. So just ruminant meat in water. So beef, fatty, beef, lamb, goat, venison, yak, caribou, these sorts of things. All the ruminant animals. That's going to be the best. It's going to filter out more of the plant toxins. That's not going to get into him. From what I can tell, autoimmune diseases are your body reacting to plant toxins and other toxins and making antibodies towards them, which then cross-react with your body, right? And so what happens how do you treat that? Well, you get rid of those plant toxins, you get rid of those other toxins that your body's reacting to, making antibodies towards, and those antibodies come right down, and it stops attacking your body. And that's what I see. That's what I see in clinical practice. And that's what we see in the literature. People go on an elemental diet and they just cut out all the different sorts of nonsense. They just take in the macros and micros that they need. Their antibodies come down and they go into remission on Crohn's disease and other sorts of autoimmune diseases. And, so, that means that the food is causing the disease. That means you are reacting to something. And then you just take that something away. So just not eating certain things is the best treatment for autoimmune disease. That's in the literature. That's in randomized controlled trials in humans. And so what is at stake if not an elemental diet? It's just the nutrients you need and nothing else. And it's all of them in the proportion that you need them because it's our natural evolved diet. So your son should just really stick to just the lion diet, just red meat and water, very high fat. Try to get about 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein. Add in a bit of organs, just a couple ounces a day, especially for the first few weeks. and then maybe go down to a couple days a week if if that suits you better. But you always need to play catch up when you're switching from another way of eating, because it's just the way you're eating is not nutritionally replete. And so just make sure that you're getting enough, and catch up with a bit of organs and things like that, and don't eat anything besides fatty red meat and water, and he'll do good. He'll do really well. Really avoid it. Coffee, tea, all that stuff has to go. Alcohol especially has to go. Sugar has to go. Everything has to go besides red meat and water, and he'll do really well. I've got a number of patients with lupus. They improve. I've got I don't know how many hundreds of patients with autoimmunity of some form, well over 100 patients with just Hashimoto's, maybe another 100 of various other sort of autoimmune issues. They all get better. They all improve. Will they all get into complete remission only with diet? That remains to be seen, but they all improve and they all get better. And if you go outside that and you start eating these other things, bam, antibodies go right up and they get a flare up. So just remember that. So this is perfectly within his control. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm going to be so restricted. No, this is freeing. This shows him he has a way. He has something he can do, that he does not have to live with lupus and take horrific and damaging medications for the rest of his life that are going to completely screw him up in 1,000 other ways. He gets to control this himself. That's very freeing. That's very empowering. So think of that in the right way, and good luck to him. I hope he does well. Let us know how he does too. It'd be great to see. Solid J Ken, thank you very much for the super chat. Hi, doctor. I'm on day 5 carnivore and my heart rate has been about 5 to 10 beats higher than normal. Am I just missing electrolytes or something else? I see this sometimes when people, they're very careful about tracking their heart rate and this, that, and the other. If your heart rate's still under 100, you're not tachycardic, I wouldn't worry about it. When your heart is running on glucose, it actually is inefficient. And then you go into a carnivore diet, ketogenic diet. Carnivore diet is a ketogenic diet. And all of a sudden your ketones go up, and your heart primarily, preferentially runs on ketone. So now your heart's actually running on rocket fuel. So, picking up the pace a bit is not all that abnormal. Is that going to stay like that? Maybe, maybe not. But at the moment, it's just sort of readjusting to like running on rocket fuel, so it's like, if you're, if you had a Ferrari and you're running on, 27 octane, and now all of a sudden you're getting a super premium and it's like 105 octane, you're like, oh my god, or 100 or 98 octane or whatever, and you're just like hauling ass, and it's like, oh wow, that works better. Yeah, imagine that. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you are feeling good and you're doing well, there's nothing to fix. If you think that you could feel better and you want to try some electrolytes, try some electrolytes. And if you feel better on those electrolytes, great. And but it may not be. It could just be that's actually pretty common that I see. Most people just don't track their heart rate and things like that, super closely. But now we have these like Oura rings and the Fitbits and all that sort of stuff, Apple Watches that track all this stuff, and so they're, oh my god, this is different. But is it bad? That different doesn't mean bad necessarily. And so I wouldn't worry too much about it. And unless you're not feeling well, in which case see if you can do something about it. You want to add in some more electrolytes, fine. See if that helps you. Just do that self experiment, and if you feel better, great. If you're just worrying about your beats per minute, though, I wouldn't worry too much. Just focus on how you feel and the results you're getting. That's the most important thing. Hugh Thomas, thank you for the super chat. And the question is about calcium deficiency on carnivore. No, you won't get calcium deficiency. Your body needs a different constellation of nutrients based on what you're eating. And so if you're eating a bunch of plants with plant toxins and oxalates and anti-nutrients that bind and strip out calcium, you will need more calcium to catch up. Always remember that female lions make milk that has calcium and have bones that have calcium, and they maintain their bones and they grow their bones. So, baby mammals drink their mother's milk. They get a lot of calcium from that milk. But then as babies, they are weaned onto their mother's diet, and their mother's diet provides enough calcium to make that milk that's high in calcium. And so then they get weaned onto that. And obviously, there's enough calcium for their mom to make milk, and there's enough calcium for them. And that's actually when the majority of long bone growth happens, is when they're just weaned onto their adult diet. And so you have to be able to get a lot of calcium from that diet, or enough calcium in any case, or else you won't grow your bones properly, right? You'll get, weak, soft bones and osteomalacia, and it's not going to be very conducive with a healthy adult. And so yeah, you'll definitely get enough calcium. It's just that we make these RDAs at a time when everyone was eating a mixed diet, and so you had to have different amounts of these things. And having plants with oxalates, there's studies back in the 50s, and people say now. I've heard people say that, oh, you should eat spinach because it has so much calcium in it. It's so good for your calcium. It's like, no, we've already done these studies. There were studies in humans back in the 50s, like 1955, somewhere around there, where they gave people spinach because there was calcium found in there by mass spectrometer. That doesn't mean that it's bioavailable. It just means that it's in there, but you don't know what form it's in there. And so they gave people a bunch of spinach to try to raise their calcium levels. And what happened? Their calcium levels went down. Why is that? Because the calcium is bound up in ways that is not bioavailable. So we can't access it because we don't have the enzymes to, because we are not designed to eat spinach. And it also comes with a lot of oxalates, which then go into our body and bind our own calcium and strip that calcium out of our blood. And then we have to strip calcium off our bones to keep our serum levels up so we don't die, because your heart stops if your calcium gets too low. So it's a very different story when you're not eating those plants and those plant toxins, those anti-nutrients, and you're actually getting bioavailable food and calcium. So no, you don't get deficient. And I have a number of patients, elderly women who had osteoporosis, and then in 8 months to a year on a carnivore diet, they don't have osteoporosis anymore, and they're also doing exercise and resistance training, things like that. But women in their 60s and 70s reversing osteoporosis, right? That's not supposed to happen. And in fact, any traditionally trained doctor or orthopedic surgeon will tell you that's impossible. That cannot happen. It happens every damn day. And maybe there are even people here in the chat that have done that. So please, leave a comment with your experiences on that. But I have a number of patients that have done that and shown this on DEXA bone scan, bone density scan, that they've gone from osteoporosis to normal bone density for a 25-year-old woman within a year of a carnivore diet. So no, you get plenty of calcium on a carnivore diet. And that was without calcium supplementation, by the way, just the diet. Big Boss, thank you very much for the super chat. Jesus. Is it? Wow, okay. I'm going slower than I thought. Okay, I'm going to have to sort of speed up here, everyone. Hey, Doc, I was joking about being vegan and turning into a tree from the last live. I'm actually carnivore and eat only human meat. Well, you are what you eat. So, if you eat a leopard, you could turn into a leopard, I guess. So I guess in this age of furries and things like that, everyone can just be whatever they want. And you can eat a badger and turn into a badger, I guess. But, that's, it's always funny when people say that you are what you eat. Yeah, we're actually meat. We're actually animals, and so we should eat meat. We should eat animals because you are what you eat, and you're getting those nutrients, that animal tissue, because we need to build and maintain animal tissue, and that's exactly what you need to eat. And you certainly don't need asparagus, because we're definitely not asparagus. And so if you are what you eat, you want to eat animals because we are animals. Hamza Mir, thank you very much for the super chat. I'm 170, I'm assuming pounds, maybe not years old, but that would be great. I want to be 210 or 215. At the same time, I'm lactose intolerant. How do I gain weight? Thanks, Doc. Yeah, okay, so you just eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. You eat twice a day at least, and you really go until you just take a bite and just go like, I don't want another bite. A lot of fat. You need a lot of fat. You'll get a ton of protein with that, but you need a lot of fat. And you'll put on muscle, and you need to work out. Obviously, I'm sure you are working out. You don't want to just put on, 50 pounds of fat. You want to put on 50 pounds of muscle. And so you need to work your ass off. You need to lift weights. You need to get on a rigorous lifting program, whatever suits you best. There's plenty of different camps on what the best way to build up muscle are, but you can talk to a strength and conditioning coach or a bodybuilding coach and say, hey, I want to put on a bunch of muscle. Get me on a lifting plan. I'll take care of the nutrition myself. And then you just lift a lot of weights. You do sprinting 3 days a week. Just try to kill yourself out there. You're going to get big old legs, and you're going to get very, very fit on top of it as well. And then you lift, and then you eat a lot of fatty meat. You eat twice a day at the least. You eat twice a day, and you work out a lot. And if you're doing that, you'll put on muscle very, very easily. Braden Field, thank you very much for the super chat. Hey, Doc, I've been carnivore for 18 months. Currently get bloated and nausea, just eating red meat, which I experienced no bloating on this diet previously. Any ideas? Just want to eat ribeyes again. Yeah, it's really weird. It could be that you're getting things from a different source. Could be that there's something you're reacting to. Just eat the meat that you enjoy. Try to switch up the different sources that you're getting, because you weren't getting bloated before. So why are you getting bloated now? Eating the same thing. Maybe something changed in the quality of meat that you're getting. Try grass finished. Try those sorts of things. Try things that aren't aged potentially. Sometimes people have a problem with aged meat. And try to get more fresh things. See if you can have lamb, those sorts of things. See what that does as well. But just play around with it. Try changing different things. See if there's anything else that slipped into your diet, and get a food journal and diary. And so mark down what your symptoms are, what you feel, how, what you're eating at what time, and when you get these symptoms, and see if you can find any patterns. And then just, unfortunately, you just have to avoid the things that are doing something bad to you. Try going to different butchers, getting different cuts of meat, and see how you go, because, bloating and nausea shouldn't really happen with this, especially if it didn't happen before. So it just sounds like something else has sort of snuck its way in and is, reacting to you negatively. So try to find out what that is. Good luck with that. Andrew, thank you for the super chat. 2 weeks ago, a bee stung me in the hospital. That's not good. Years ago, stings were mild. Could carnivore increase venom sensitivity via allergy? Oh, he put you in the hospital. Jesus. Okay. I thought it stung you in the hospital. And so it's just not good to let bees in the hospital. But wow, put you in the hospital. Well, anybody can develop a sensitivity at any point in their life, and repeated exposures to something actually increases the chances that you'll start getting a hypersensitivity to it. I don't think that carnivore will increase venom sensitivity. I would actually imagine it goes the other way, because a lot of people have less allergies and histamine responses with previous exposures that they've had. Like I get mosquito bites, and they're almost don't even really feel them. They're not even all that itchy. They're not a big problem. I haven't had a bee bite or bee sting since, so I don't know, and I don't plan on testing that one, because I don't really want to get stung by a bee. But it's unlikely that carnivore did that, but you could be just this happened to be when your body triggered and got more sensitive. So. But I wouldn't think it was with the carnivore. But either way, if you have a hyper sensitivity reaction, you just need to be really careful. Go around with an EpiPen, things like that, because you don't want to take a risk. Yeah, so it's hard to say. Maybe it gets better in the future, or maybe it doesn't. But either way, you're in the situation that you need to sort of be careful about it. So very sorry about that, but hopefully you don't have that again in the future. But be careful. Go around with an EpiPen. Good luck with that. Alex Soren, thank you for the super chat. Well, my test was 225 when I was put on testosterone age 35. Played with PEDs in my 20s, then took off my blood count when my blood count was 19.6. I feel like garbage. Yeah. So that was previously when they were on testosterone. Yeah. So, that's the thing. It's like you shouldn't get taken off that quickly. If you sort of damage your body's ability to sort of make testosterone, I do think that you probably will be able to recover in time, but you don't take someone off that quickly and let them bottom out, because they're clearly not, you're not going to be able to recover right that quickly. There are medications that can help stimulate your testes, making testosterone, and you shouldn't just drop people off of those things without weaning them off of them, or without putting them on something like that can help bolster their natural response. So I would go back and talk to your doctor, and if he or she isn't really hearing any of it, yeah, I would talk to a different doctor for sure. Yeah, because that's not right. James Joseph Finn, thank you for the super chat. Would salt be a cause of edema and in lower extremities and difficulty frequent urination in the middle of the night, or elevated insulin from a little pasta, or both? Could be a bit of both. Excess salt, you can get a bit more edema and fluid retention. So you can just try both. Just try reducing the amount of salt, and cutting out the pasta definitely, and see how you go, because that's either one could do that. And if you're having this issue, you just have to, again, do the self experiment and try to sort of cut those things out and see how you go. It could be something completely different too. So that's why you get the journal and the diary, sort of say, hey, my legs are swollen here, this is what I ate today, had legs swollen or didn't, and you can sort of see patterns that way as well. So that's a good idea. Jareen Louise, thank you very much for the super chat. Hello from Massachusetts. Well, hello. I had a gastric sleeve surgery 2 years ago. Now I have bone pain and hair loss. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Should I take supplements since I can't eat that much? Yeah, you might need to. I mean, go for that's a very common thing with gastric sleeve and the bypass surgeries and those sorts of things. And you get malabsorption issues, and so you can actually cut out parts of the stomach and small intestine that actually help you absorb certain things, and you just can't absorb them anymore. And so that's not good. And so, you want to have more nutrient dense things. So you are going to need to eat more liver and kidneys and heart, and then check your levels, and if you are too low on B12 and folate and iron and vitamin D and these sorts of things, and the organs aren't enough, then yes, I would supplement, absolutely. And sometimes you have to do that in injection form, because your body just can't absorb it through your gut. And that's a really unfortunate consequence of these sorts of surgeries, which is another reason why I'm really not a big fan of them. So that's perfectly fine. If you're low on these sorts of things, I would check all of your blood levels and see what's going on, because you shouldn't have a lot of pain. You shouldn't have hair loss and these sorts of things. Check your thyroid too. That's another one for hair loss that's important. And just make sure that you're getting the organs. And if that's not enough, I would supplement, definitely. Okay, this is the last question, and then we gotta wrap up, because I've got an appointment here shortly that I have to run to. So Molly Madness, thank you very much for the super chat. Since going carnivore, it's helped me with a lot of problems, but experienced hot flashes as a female in my 60s. Interesting, because the thing is, I've seen women in their late 50s actually reverse out of menopause and actually start producing normal amounts of estrogen again for a 25-year-old. And so it could be that you're sort of maybe on that edge where you're starting to produce some more estrogen than your body did before, enough to then start giving you the hot flashes as well. Whereas before you just didn't really have anything to speak of, and now it's actually sort of making a bit of a recovery. And so that's very interesting. I would check your hormones. I would check your blood work. And I would just keep eating a lot of fatty meat. Your body can help normalize. Your adrenals can start creating more estrogen and so on, and some androgens as well. And and that can help you feel very good and strong and healthy, for the rest of your life and without HRT. But if your ovaries are starting to wake up as well, it could be that you're starting to make a bit more estrogen to the point that you're starting to sort of feel you know the effects of that. And so check your levels and see how you're doing. I don't think you necessarily have to go on HRT. I don't know if you're on HRT or not, but that happens. It happens that your body starts to recover and make more estrogen, so which is great. And yeah, so good luck with that. But that can absolutely happen. And so it's at a certain point, I think that women will go through menopause and won't be fertile anymore. But it's a lot later than I think people previously thought, because it's the body just works so much differently when you're eating properly, and your hormones work very differently as well. So yeah, so good luck with that. Hopefully you don't have any bad symptoms, and hopefully your body and your hormones improve more and more and more, and you just keep doing better and better. And thank you for the super chat. Okay, there's been some super stickers and things like that. So say thank you to everyone here. Tom Chu, thank you for this, the donation to buy Dr. Chaffee a Shure microphone. I think there's some recommendations on some other microphones. I think this one worked great. I sort of looked it up, all the reviews, that this was one of the top ones, but I think getting one on a boom mic that I can actually get close to my face more easily when I'm sitting down might be a good idea. So we'll see about an upgrade here in the future. Stuart Williams, thank you very much for the very generous super sticker. And Fred, thank you for the super sticker. And Jeff Hardy, thank you for the super sticker. And Jeff Stone as well. Thank you all very much for that. And thank you all for coming. Thank you all for submitting questions. Thank you all for watching on the different platforms on X and YouTube and Instagram. And I really appreciate it. I'm going to be back doing regular YouTube lives every week like this, and in 2 days' time as well. And keep putting out more interviews and podcasts on top of all that. Also, try to get this tickle out of my throat too. And so I appreciate everybody coming out. Hopefully this is helping people. Hopefully this is keeping people on track and putting them in the right, getting them going in the right direction so that they can heal and get better, and not need the medical establishment and a whole bunch of drugs and pharmaceuticals and things like that, and just be healthy and happy and lead better lives as a result. So thank you all for coming on. I would love to stay longer, but I actually have to jet out. So it was great live today, and I will see you all next time.